But, because it didn't look to me to be,
Okay, the land use board, meeting in Greenwich Township for October 13th is in order here. Our secretary is, ill, so we're doing that double duty here. Adequate notice of this meeting has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. And that notice was published in the Express Times and Star Ledger newspaper. Notice was posted on the municipal building bulletin board in the Township Administration Building in Greenwich Township, New Jersey, and notice was filed with the township clerk. Let's do a roll call here. Bruce Williams here. Mark Scuderi
here,
Paul Bean, class one. Joe Chicello.
Here.
Brian Baylor, class three.
Here.
Kathy Cullen.
Here.
Gary Hill.
Here.
Joe Fiammi.
Here.
Jeremy Blunt.
Here.
Andrea Sherlaw.
Here.
Rocky Stein.
Absent.
Absent. Okay, George Bradlaugh.
Here.
Dana Parker.
He's flying. I just received a message.
Okay, so absent, so. I didn't hear from anybody that they weren't gonna be here.
Rocky got in touch with Amy about 40 minutes ago.
Okay, so. I need a motion to, who we missed?
Excuse Rocky Stein and his emails that Dana Parker is
Flying home, okay, so I need a motion to excuse Rocky and Dan.
I'll motion.
Second from Jeremy. Oh, I gotta keep track of that, right?
Right.
Okay, we need to do a roll call thing.
Yeah, just do it different.
No.
Okay. This is a motion to excuse Rocky and Dana. Bruce Williams, yes. Mark Scuderi,
Yes.
Paul Bean,
Yes.
Joe Chicello,
Yes.
Brian Baylor,
Yes.
Kathy Cullen,
Yes.
Joe Fiammi.
Yes.
Gary Hill,
Yes.
Jeremy Blunt,
Yes.
Andrea Sherlaw,
Yes.
Rocky not here, and George Bradlaugh.
Yes.
Okay. Next order of business would be the minutes from the minutes from the previous meeting. September 8th.
Yeah.
Pardon? Oh. That's the last one. Thank you. Okay, all right. I'm like, ladies, to the flag of the United States of America. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes. That was weird.
Thanks.
George, we're gonna be looking that way. If you want to bring a chair over here, we've got one here and you can sit here too. Wherever you want to sit. The tables are tight. You're good.
Distracting
Nope, you're good.
No, you're good, or if you can go on the bench there too, once we get started, because most of it's gonna be up on the screen. But before we get to that, we do have the minutes to approve. So for September 8th, are there any comments or questions about the minutes as prepared? Okay, so then I need a motion to accept the minutes as written.
My motion, I'm a member who was present. Make sure whoever makes the motion was present, whoever seconds it was present. Motion.
Were you here last month? Yeah, okay, and Joe Chill, second. So motion to pass, so roll call.
Do a roll call because the people that weren't here should be abstained. So
Members present here.
Baylor, Hill, and Blunt should be abstained.
Okay. This thing was easy as it looked. Okay, this is the vote on the acceptance of the minutes. Bruce Williams, yes. Let's see, Mark Scuderi.
Yes.
Paul Beam.
Yes.
Joe Chillo,
Yes.
Brian was absent. Okay, so you're staying. Kathy Cullen,
Yes.
Joe Piami.
Yes.
Gary Hills abstained.
Staying.
Jerry Blunt abstains. As I recall.
Yeah.
Andrew Sherlock. Rocky was abstaining. Anyway. Chris Rowell, like, or you can actually work. So. Yeah, so. Yes, okay.
I don't like sitting in the corner.
What did I say? Out of sight. Okay. Six copies here. Okay. So, next order of business is public hearing for the redevelopment study and preliminary investigation report. I'll hand it over.
Yeah.
So let me get.
Hold on. We add me to
Yeah.
the meeting so I can share.
Yes.
the screen.
And while he's doing that, let me get sworn in. You swear the testimony you're gonna give in this matter, you speak the whole truth.
I do.
And identify yourself to the next.
Tender gift.
Do the-
I am the planner.
Should we? Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, do I have to start here?
You can
No,
start by-
that'd be good.
Yes, 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 yes.
Do you need a motion to open the phone?
Okay, it's on.
Can you turn on the microphone?
It's hard to hear back.
It's hard to hear from you also.
It's hard to hear back. How about that?
You can understand now why.
Paul, do you know how to do that?
Can I make a suggestion? Can everyone move up?
Yeah,
the
rain.
Sorry, the rain. the
No,
rain
this
is the problem.
definitely doesn't work. Is there a red button? A red?
Don't trust that.
And everyone's gonna speak loud tonight because of the rain.
But do you need that for it to go into the recording?
All the people in this room. I'm the
Bruce,
last one.
it should be recording off of these.
Yeah, but I think that's hooked in.
Does
Can
it
I-
say recording?
Once you call in-
Well, no, I know the Zoom is recording. That's doing it. That's fine.
Oh, then,
Yeah.
as long as you have one recording,
Okay,
okay.
okay, sorry.
No worries. Thank you, board members and members of the public. Yes, we are here. I don't know, John, did you want to do an overview or you want me to do that? Okay.
No.
We're here tonight for the redevelopment study and preliminary investigation report, which I'm the author of as well as Robert Dare, who was a colleague of mine, T&M Associates. This was prepared July 18th. We updated it August 18th. We included information that we had received from the police department in August. So that's really the only thing that was updated in August. We had a workshop meeting with the board about a month ago. We just went over kind of the basics of redevelopment plan. I know some of you weren't here, and of course, the members of the public may not have been here. So we're going to walk through this report. I am not going to give testimony in every single page of the report. I'm going to give an overview. And then I'm available for questions from the board as well as from the public.
And just to be clear, this is a public hearing, so besides members of the public having the opportunity to ask questions of the witness, members of the public have the opportunity to give sworn testimony after all the questioning of the board's planner is completed.
So I'm going to use this report. I'm going to turn to a couple of maps in the report as well as potentially highlighting some of the findings. But really, for the most part, I'm going to be kind of working through an outline that I had put together that really does summarize the report. So the redevelopment study and preliminary investigation report is the first of two parts of the redevelopment process through the local redevelopment and housing law. The first part is what we're doing tonight, and that is the purpose of an area needs study is really for you as the board, to make a determination, or recommendation to the governing body, whether you find one or all of the lots meeting at least one of the criteria. We'll go through the criteria. There are 8 criteria that are provided in the local redevelopment and housing law. And your determination, or your recommendation is whether this area or parts thereof should be designated as an area in need of redevelopment. The planning board, as I indicated, the planning board process is you hold this public hearing, you make a recommendation. Who does that go to? That goes to the governing body. The governing body is ultimately the entity that will make the determination that an area is in need of redevelopment, but it has to go through the planning board first for their recommendation. So really the public hearing occurs at the planning board level. The next part of the process is what we know to be a redevelopment plan. So all or a part thereof of this area, and we'll get into the area itself, would be designated as an area in redevelopment. A redevelopment plan, or lack of a better word, another zoning ordinance, or the ability to utilize the incentives within the local housing redevelopment law. That could be pilots, abatements, working with a private developer to come up with zoning for the piece of property or properties. But really, this is the first step into that process. And people may ask, well, what happens with the redevelopment plan and why would somebody want to do that? It is actually just an additional incentive zoning piece of, I guess, property, or not even property. It's a zoning opportunity to give more flexibility to the redevelopment of parcels. So we take a look at these parcels. If they meet the criteria, potentially in the future, the existing zoning may not be working for that redevelopment to occur. And this just gives the additional incentives for that to occur in the future. If the developer chooses to work with an owner of the property, there is nothing in this law that says it has to be redeveloped. This becomes a market, really run process.
And significantly, the law says that the governing body, when it directs the planning board to do this investigation, the governing body tells the planning board, is eminent domain on the table or off the table?
Right.
In this case, the governing body said non-condemnation.
Correct.
So whatever the recommendation to the governing body is about whether or not the lots in here are in an area in need of redevelopment, there cannot be condemnation at the end of the road on this.
Correct. So this is a non-condemnation redevelopment study that we are looking at. So as John had indicated, it does not include eminent domain as a tool that the housing law does, redevelopment housing law does allow for, but the governing body has to be very specific about that, and that is not the case here tonight. So we're dealing with, and you'll see on the screen, this is the redevelopment study area. This is a broad view where it sits in Greenwich Township. I'm going to read into the record the block and lots. Block 26, lots 34, 34.01, 37, 37.01, 38, and 39. Block 2601, lots 1 and 2, block 38, lots 1 through 4. This is basically the Route 22 on the east side or the north side, however you want to look at it, pretty much at the gateway as you're coming off of 78. This was authorized by the governing body through resolution 6321 in October of 2021. And I'm going to start going through the lots and their location. So this is an aerial map. This is known as map 2 within the report. Everything in the red outline shows the area that the governing body had asked the planning board to study. Parcels are located, as I indicated, on the east side of Route 22 at the gateway of Route 78. This is the aerial that shows that particular area. The study area is approximately 14 acres in size. It fronts on 22 New Brunswick Avenue, West Avenue. It's located currently in the B2 Highway Business Zoning District. The permitted uses in the Highway Business Zoning District are on page 15 of the report, if anybody wants to take a look at that. I'm not going to go through that. The current uses range from a single-family house with a commercial business as part of that, gas station, motel, a restaurant, a car wash, some vacant parcels, some vacant buildings, all mostly in private ownership except for one parcel that's owned by the municipality. There are no environmental constraints on the properties, meaning no wetlands and floodplain, steep slopes, so on and so forth. Surrounding uses, you're all familiar with the surrounding uses, but it's basically commercial, pretty much east, north, and west, and then to the south, we know that Route 78 is situated there. So generally, there are 8 criteria that we go through, and I'm gonna go
And
to.
by the way,
Go ahead.
the map on page 5 of the study shows the owners of each of the parcels.
It does. Thank you. So if anybody has the report, I'm gonna switch to 21.
And by the way, there's one more copy of the report, if anyone wants. Thank you.
I'm gonna move to page 21 of the report. Page 21 of the report starts with the 8 criteria. And in order for this board to recommend a designation, the board must find that the property conditions on the lots that we've studied meet at least one of the criteria within this list here. And we're gonna talk through that in a little bit. The local redevelopment housing law permits that while you may find one of the parcels not meeting their criteria, you can also find that the inclusion of those lots, and this is the case here tonight, we did find that one of the lots is necessary for the effective redevelopment of the entire area, and we'll talk about that. So this is the criteria. I'm not gonna run through every single one of them, but if you wanted to find them, they're on page 21 and 22 of the plan. I am gonna kind of read through the ones that we did take a look at as it relates to each of the individual properties. Essentially found that 4 criteria A, B, D, and H are met, and they are met in different on different lots. And that the board may find that the entire study area may be designated as an area in need of redevelopment. I'm gonna switch to page 35, which is map 8. Because this gives a good synopsis or summary of our findings. So this is map 8. Hold up a little bit more so you can see it. Redevelopment area is in the red, and then what you will notice, I'm gonna try to, actually, I'm gonna reduce this just a bit so you can see the whole thing. What you will notice is that we have different colors here. I'm gonna start towards the bottom of the page towards towards Route 78. This is block 38, lots 1, 2, 3, and 4. You'll see they're in that green color. We have found that there are 3 criteria being met. Remember, 1 criteria has to be met. We found that 3 are being met with these parcels. And I'll go through that in a second. The large, there are 2 parcels, one large one, which is the motel site, and then one smaller one meets the D criteria. We found that all of them meet the H criteria, which is smart growth, planning and development, and I'll talk about that. And then there was 1 piece of property, which is this restaurant here, needed for the effective redevelopment of this overall parcel. So I'm gonna keep this map up as I kind of walk through the different criteria. So as demonstrated in photos, so we have photos in the appendix of this report. We did a site visits back in June of this summer. We found that 4 parcels, as I indicated, the parcels towards the bottom of this map meet 3 criteria. Block 38, lots 1 through 4, which is shown in green on this map. So criteria A and B, I'm going to talk to you first as it relates to 1 through 3. So if you just follow my cursor, this is lot 1, lot 2, lot 3. They're all under common ownership, and it contains a vacant, and from what we could tell from Google View back to 2015, it's been vacant since at least 2015. There's a 1-story commercial building on these lots. That's really an advanced stage of disrepair, including deteriorated and weathered building facades, partially falling facade and building elements, and overgrown vegetation on the building and graffiti. These conditions present significant safety concerns and is certainly can meet this idea that is conducive to an unwholesome working condition, especially given the restricted access from these items of disrepair. As I indicated, if you want to look, Appendix B has the photographs that would support this finding. Lot 4, which is this lot towards the very bottom of the page, under different ownership contains also a vacant building, which we believe is at least vacant since 2015. It's a one-story commercial building that's in an advanced state of disrepair, including similar conditions that I mentioned for lots 1 through 3. And it also has a deteriorating roof.
Can you just
Sure.
go back to page 34? She has a chart in there, which lists the block and lots, and it has checks by which criteria is satisfied. I like the graphic, but the chart is also,
Also gives additional.
yeah.
Thank you. So it's determined that given these conditions within the building itself, that it presents a significant safety concern and is conducive again to the unwholesome working conditions. Criteria A and B. So criteria A really looks at the conditions of the building itself, and B looks at the fact that these are vacant or abandoned properties. So we have found that they need both. The building is vacant, potentially abandoned, and they also meet the idea that the buildings are in a deteriorated condition. Criteria D is a little bit different. The criteria D, we look at the conditions of the site itself. So not necessarily the building, but it's the site that a building sits on. So for lots 1 through 4, the building and the grounds we found that are in a state of disrepair, including overgrown vegetation that's attached to the building and throughout the site, cracked asphalt, miscellaneous debris throughout the site, fencing that is either not present or has fallen down, all resulting in significant health and safety concerns that are detrimental to the health, safety, morals, and welfare of the community. So for these 4 lots, there are 3 criteria that we have found and recommend to the planning board that can be found, be recommended to the governing body as an area in need of redevelopment. 2 lots meet the D criteria. So on this particular map, you'll notice them in the blue color. Block 37, lot 1 is the smaller of the 2. So if you see where my cursor is, it sits off of Route 22, across from where the car wash is. This is a 2-story single family. It contains a 2-story single family dwelling, a 1-story single family dwelling, and several outbuildings. The single family dwelling contains a commercial business I believe it's the sale of antiques and other items. There was outside storage of merchandise and large unmounted plywood signs on the property, which from my understanding is not in conformance with our sign ordinances, with the township sign ordinances. The site's only partially fenced, and given the significant amount of merchandise stored outside that's not enclosed, and that the area is freely accessible, and that it is located adjacent to the other lots that we found have significant safety issues and receiving graffiti. Sorry, I lost my place. Given the significant amount of merchandise stored outside, it's not enclosed, and that the area is freely accessible, and it's located next to the block 38 lots 1 through 3, which has evidence of vandalism, meaning graffiti. The site represents a threat to public safety. It is an attractive nuisance, in my opinion, and represents a potential threat to public health, safety, welfare of the community. So we found that particular lot does meet that criteria D. Lot 26. Block 26, lot 37, which is this larger lot, which you all know as the motel site. This has a 2-story motel with a detached 1-story management office and a 32 share that looks like it's in the process of having the facade elements removed and put back in, with site improvements, including a pool and parking areas. The western portion of the site is undeveloped. It appears that the property has been under renovation for several years. Construction materials were observed in front of the management office, and unattached structural elements were leaning askew against the front facade. And there was unsecured, all of these elements were unsecured with no fencing or tape and other means of restricting that access and alerting users of the site of the potential dangerous situations with construction materials and elements. And we have pictures of that as well in Appendix B. These conditions present a clear and significant threat to the public health, safety, welfare of the community, and as I said, the previous one could be considered an attractive use. In addition to the existing site configuration of the motel, in addition, the configuration of the motel as well can be considered an attractive nuisance. The configuration of that motel results in limited visibility of the property from Route 22 as well as from New Brunswick Avenue. Route 22 is really because of the true configuration of the lot itself. The New Brunswick Ave has to do with the fact that there's existing vegetation that limits visibility. The limited visibility impacts the ability of the police to observe and patrol the site from the right of way, meaning the roadways. This limited visibility creates a sense of isolation, and crime increases in such circumstances, as evidenced by the 530 police incidents and calls that we received from the township, indicating that this is definitely a higher source of calls along this stretch of Route 22. So in our opinion, in my opinion, that both of these lots meet the criterion. I'm going to move on to what's known as the age criterion. The age criterion means that the area need of redevelopment, just the determination of it would support smart growth principles as well as goals and objectives. All the lots, and what we found here, and it's hard to see on this map, and I apologize, but there's a black stripe that goes through all the lots. So all the lots have been found to meet the H criteria, including the lots I just discussed, as well as the lots that I have not discussed. These lots within the area are consistent with smart growth planning principles specifically, and we go through this in our report between pages 30 and 32. With regards to the state development and redevelopment plan that promotes future development and redevelopment within what we call the planning area 2, which this is in the planning area 2 piece of the state. And it also is in conformance with the Highlands Master Plan, which designates these lots within the existing community zone. And that particular master plan states that the overall goal of this zone, meaning existing development, existing infrastructures to support growth through both redevelopment and development. So all the lots meet the H criteria. There's one lot that is needed for the effective redevelopment in the area. And if you follow my cursor, that's the restaurant here, block 26, lot 37.01. This restaurant, as you can see, is surrounded by block 26, lot 37, which is the motel site. A lot is needed for the effective redevelopment of the motel lot, as it provides for increased roadway frontage on Route 22. It minimizes the potential for land use conflict. So if 2637 was redeveloped, but the IHOP wasn't, there could be potential conflicts through buffering and other means that between those two sites. It increases the contiguous land area available for redevelopment, which potentially increases the attractiveness to potential redevelopers of that site. So in conclusion, and I know I went through that pretty quickly, but I want to make sure that I have time for you all to ask me questions. Based on this assessment, and you'll find the conclusion at the end of the report, it's concluded that the lots within the study area meet at least one of the criteria, and feel certainly very comfortable recommending to all of you that you can recommend to the governing body that it be designated as an area in need of redevelopment. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
The board members have any questions?
Some members of the public don't think that the board's stupid. They went through a work session on this and heard the same presentation, but they've already been through it. This is the required public hearing. That's why you don't hearing any questions.
If any board, do you have a question? No. So if there is no question, the board members, are there any questions from the public?
Identify yourself for the records, and why don't you just stand up near the owl? Just like that, but now you're close enough to a microphone. Okay.
All right. My name is Doris Scullion, and my question is, does this chamois shine get included in this?
Yeah, so the chamois shine is located right here, at block 2601 lot 1. It is included as through the H criteria, which is the smart growth planning criteria. So it's not necessarily part of any of the other criteria that I listed as far as building conditions or site conditions or vacancies. It really has to do with the effective redevelopment of the area this would be a smart growth opportunity. That doesn't mean it's going to be redeveloped. It just means that it has the potential for incentive zoning that may enhance the ability to build either something else there in the future or keep it as it is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Any comments from the public?
But just for the record, there are 4 members of the public out there. If anyone wants to come up and get sworn in and say something to the board, you're invited and more than welcome. No? Okay, okay.
I'll just,
Can you identify
Yeah.
yourself?
Abe Cassis.
Can you hold on just 1 minute?
Hold on 1 second. Thank you. Want to make sure that there's no quorum of the township committee, and our chairman just pointed out that even though Bill was saying that he was here as a member of the public and not a member of the township committee, I wanted to make sure that there wouldn't be any improprieties. So I'd asked him to step out, and he did. Okay,
You will go.
No, I'm sorry. I was just identifying. I'm Abe Cassis
can you
and
spell your last name?
Kassis.
Okay,
And that's my brother Arthur, and we are, that's the properties on the bottom, but the 4 properties that I guess are the major issue here are properties that come from my father and my uncle. We own them. We've inherited it from
that's
them.
block 38, lot
38,
1, 2,
1
3, and 4.
Yeah, we received the notice, so we came just to understand what was happening. I can state, I mean, whether it's relevant for today's purpose
know
or
what?
not. We're
Let me
actively,
get you sworn in. Do you swear that the testimony you just gave, you're about to give, and you will be giving truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, and not, I don't know if it's relevant for the purposes, but we've been actively marketing to sell the property. We had actually been under contract years ago, and then when COVID hit, we lost the buyer, and we continue to pursue as far as that. And we're aware of the circumstances and conditions of such, but we came tonight because we wanted to see the significance or the relevance of what this was. And I think the information was described, we understand what this is about, and certainly I have nothing to add to that, and at least thank you for that explanation. But being aware of that, I just didn't know if it was relevant to state that this is not something that we're taking for granted in that regard, or not trying to find a way to improve upon it. And my understanding though is that our activity and trying pursuing to get it, so what's happening here is not going to inhibit or
No.
limit that. If somebody
Quite to the contrary.
try to make it easier for somebody to come in and do something.
Yes.
That's good news. That's
Yeah.
great news. Thank you. That's all I had to say. Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments from the public?
If that's the case, then it would be, I guess, in order for someone to make a motion to recommend to the governing body that the study area, which is identified on the cover of Kendra's report, be recommended to be determined to be an area in need of redevelopment. And my only suggested revision, and for the reasons set forth in the report, and my only suggested revision to the report is to add in parentheses, after it says redevelopment study and preliminary investigation report, put in parentheses, non-condemnation in paren, just to make it clear from the cover. I mean, it says it on the bottom of page 1, that governing body resolution 63-21 specifies that the study area shall not be subject to condemnation. But I would recommend that the motion recommending have revised the study in that one respect, just to flag it right on the cover page.
Okay, everyone understand the motion that John has proposed?
I'm proposing it, but I can't make it.
I
Someone
understand.
could say, so moved.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
I just want to make sure. Okay, do we have so move and a second?
I'll say.
So we got Joe and Joe. Up on my paperwork here. Okay, roll call, Bruce Williams, yes. Mark Scuderi.
Yes.
Paul Bean,
Yes.
Joe Chichillo,
Yes.
Brian Baylor,
Yes.
Kathy Cullen,
Yes.
Joe Fiami,
Yes,
Gary Hill.
I will abstain because I was not part of the group that did
You
the
don't,
research.
you
and I have
don't
no-
need
have
to
to
be,
be.
that was the workshop.
That was the
This is
workshop.
the public
Here's
hearing.
the public hearing.
Okay,
So do you want to make a vote or do you want to? You can, what we're saying is you can vote. You
Yeah,
don't have.
you don't have.
I understand that, but I don't feel that I know enough material to vote yes or no.
Okay, so if
Okay.
you want to
That's
abstain,
why I'm
that's fine.
abstaining. I haven't
Jeremy
read all
Blunt.
94 pages.
Yes.
Andrea Sherlaw
Yes.
and George Bradlaugh.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes with then some. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I don't know if I need to do anything with this, so. I don't think I do. So our next order of business would be, escrow balances. We don't have an update on that because, well, we don't. And then next thing would be COA update. Is there a COA update?
The township is progressing at a better pace than it was after my last report on the eminent domain proceedings for taking the sewer line easement to enable the Petrucci site to be developed. And actually, appraisals were approved, they were sent out, and they're now in negotiations with the various owners of that easement, which is good. And the township, I believe, will probably have on one of its upcoming agendas the approval of the appraisal for taking the storm drainage easement, which is also for the Petrucci site, and then once that appraisal is approved, that will be sent to the next door neighbor on that, and that will start negotiations on that one. The update on the Ingerman site is, there's a bunch of documents that I sent a couple weeks ago to the township committee, and I put in an email to the township clerk to find out, you know, when those are gonna be on an agenda for the township committee to be approved. Was there action? Was there? The last meeting? That would be good. I think there was.
I thought so, but
Yeah, well, nothing has been sent to me,
Would have been
and the attorney for Ingerman texted me because she knows I'm out here tonight asking what's up with that. And after this meeting, Mike and I are gonna call her on a separate. issue.
I think it's a September meeting. I
well, but I also remember there was a big packet that we got the day before, and nobody had a chance to read.
So maybe it was discussed, but no action.
No action was taken, but I don't remember that it was related to,
In any event, I know because I sent them in, that there are a set of documents that need township committee approval to get this Ingerman project under construction. And I don't believe they've been approved yet. Hopefully I'm wrong. But that'll be at the next affordable housing update. And it should really be affordable housing update, not co-op. update. I know that everyone, when they say co-op update, they mean affordable housing. I understand. And that's it.
had a hard habit to break.
That's it. That's the update.
Yes,
As a relatively new board member, and perhaps even for our members of the public here, could you give us a simple description of where Ingerman and Petrucci is? What is it?
You mean geographically or what stage? you're at?
Geographic, yeah, geographic.
I'm gonna ask our township engineer to geographically describe where the two sites are.
Sure, be happy to. Know 'em well. Ingerman, is also known as the Willows at Greenwich. Is referred to from time to time as the Dumont site because it is actually the rectangular property
Up there, yeah.
between, that's Greenwich Street frontage, Dumont Road frontage, and then it backs up to Wyndham Farm. approximately 15 acres. It's been farmed forever. That's Ingram.
And now, you get the geographic, and Ingerman received preliminary and final site plan approval from the board, and they need these documents approved so that they can start construction.
Yeah, and the other big distinction is they've been through their funding and
Yeah, they obtained 9% tax credit financing, they have all the financing lined up, they're literally. They need some documents approved to start construction.
And, okay, the second site, which we refer to as the Petrucci site,
Or the former Furman
or
site.
the former Furman, say that 3 times fast, the former Furman site is about a 5.5 acre lot, I think, and it's located on the corner of Route 173 and Voorhees Road, which is just a little sub street from Route 173.
Abandoned car dealer. there.
Exactly, right across the street from the abandoned car dealer. That is what we refer to as, again, the former Furman site or the Petrucci site.
And the status of that is, they started an application for preliminary site plan approval, but they were halted in their tracks because of 2 problems. One is, the only way they can get their sewage into a treatment plant is to go through an easement that's over other property owners across the street. And that's what the eminent domain proceeding is, to take that easement without taking away the right of the people that put it in to use it, but to give the right to Petrucci to use it. And the next door neighbor to Petrucci has a stormwater easement, but the easement does not go along the perimeter of the property. The easement cuts diagonally across the property and makes it impossible for Petrucci to site the buildings. So the township is in the process of going to take that easement, and then once it owns it, it's gonna have to pay compensation to the next door neighbor, but then they're gonna move the stormwater easement to the perimeter of the property, and then the neighbor will still be able to have a place for its stormwater to go, and Petrucci will be able to build the buildings because they won't be over an easement.
so as you might deduce, that one has quite a bit further to go.
Yes,
And that one hasn't even put in for the funding yet because these other issues haven't been resolved.
they can't put in for funding until they have preliminary site plan approval.
Right.
And they can't get preliminary site plan approval until they resolve stormwater and sewer, because stormwater and sewer are 2 of the 4 essential elements of the development. Which the planning board cannot grant site plan approval unless all ordinances are complied with, or variances or exceptions are granted, and that the 4 essential elements of the development are feasible. Potable water, sewer. This is not feasible until they have the right to use the easement. Stormwater, not feasible until they have the right to use it, because until they move that easement. And traffic. Traffic's not a problem from a, well, you're gonna have to prove during the site plan that traffic's not a problem, and they're gonna have to prove during the site plan they have potable water. But those are not things where there are stumbling blocks, they just have to put in proofs on that, and we're gonna have a traffic engineer, yada, yada, yada. That's,
Thank you both very much. The narratives were clear.
now let's ask our 2 members of the public who've been following this for a while, did you know that information? I'm hoping you say
I
yes.
think we did. Yes, we did. And we knew why it was being held up because of those 2.
Did you remember before I restated everything?
I believe we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a success
No, I
story.
knew there were 2 reasons. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
That's why we come.
That shows you, thank you for that.
Okay, so yes,
I have one question while we're still on this topic. On the Ingerman property, back in, I think it was July or our July meeting, we gave them an extension to
Yeah.
September.
We have to find out if they need another one. That's what Mike and I are gonna be on the phone with the applicant's attorney.
Maybe, yeah.
But I can tell you this, it's not gonna be. It's fine, I'm gonna find out the facts where we stand. But it's possible that if there's a delay. It's not that, it's possible. It's possible with delay, when I say us, it's not planning. But it's possible that there's a township kind of inadvertently created delay. But we don't know until we find facts. That's a better term, yeah. hiccup.
Anything else? Or do you prefer to get out of here?
Not in that rain.
Okay, as a reminder, the next board meeting is November 10th, at least as of this date, and maybe we'll have an application.
I suspect we will, as a matter of fact. I would be surprised if Bolus is not ready for next month.
Okay, any, the other one
So
still,
next month I will have a resolution memorializing the recommendation that you guys made this.
The asphalt plant solar project has been eerily quiet for a couple of weeks. So, nothing.
okay, so I need that all important motion to adjourn. So Gary and Mark,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
Hey, Paul, something.
Hey, Paul.
Your umbrella?
Paul.
Mine.
I'd love to be able to spot really ran out of state that we wanted is small, right? If there's a swimming pool in
Yeah,
the
sure.
basement right now. With how hard this
Well,
rain
with
is,
the sandbags there, I don't think they're.
We
okay.
I don't think those sandbags are quite as, but we've got a new issue. I was down there working out this morning and I don't know why, but there's water coming from underneath the furnace and it's not from the hot water.
Yeah, so long.
It looks like it's coming like the sensation of
Did anybody have Mike Keller's condo made out in Florida?
for that.
Weird.
Who's coming?
Mike Finelli.
Oh.
One down.
You're on the second
Kind of
or
in the
third quarter,
target
okay.
Well, he's still here yet, so.
You're on the first or second. Yeah.
See ya, thanks a lot, Dennis. Oh, I got it.
Sounds like it really, really quiet down out there, you better run.